Hello, and welcome to this week's code challenge. I hope everyone's doing well, and let's get right to it. So here's this week's code challenge. We're going to call it List of Multiples Challenge. And the challenge is create a function that takes two numbers as arguments, num and length, and returns a list of multiples of num until the list length reaches length. So here's two examples. Now that we went over the challenge, let's get to coding. So I'll define a function, and again we'll call it list of m. We'll have num length. So first we'll create an empty list. We'll just call it list. Then we're going to do a for loop. So for L in range 1, length plus 1. So what this does is it'll look at the value that we give length, and then it'll add 1. So if we go back to this example above, so we had the length of 5. If length here is 5, that means the range will be 1, 5 plus 1 is 6, so 1 and 6. So what that means is, so Python is not inclusive. Actually, let me show you real quick. So for L in range 1, 5, print L. Okay, so what we see here is that it'll go through this range and it'll print each one. One thing to note is that in Python it's not inclusive, so the 5 does not show up. In order to get the list of multiples based on the length that you provide, you have to add 1. So now it becomes inclusive. I hope that makes sense. So let's get back up here now. Just delete that print. Okay, so what we do now is we're just going to give a variable, so n equals the number, so the number that we provide times L. So it's going to go through each loop. So it's going to go through this loop, and it's going to grab that number every time in that loop, and it's going to multiply it. So again, if we assume that this is 5, first it's going to do number, whatever we give, times 1, and then number, and then when it goes back into the loop, number times, now L becomes 2, so 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So then every time it goes through this loop, we want to store that value. So we're going to do list.append n. So that's why we created this empty list at the top. So what's going to happen here is going to go through each loop. Again, we start with 1, so you're going to have that number that you decide to call in the function times 1. It's just that number alone. So n is equal to, let's say we put 7, n equals 7, that first loop. You're going to append it, so it's going to go in this empty list, and you have 7. Then we go to the loop for a second time, and now L is 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. So now n becomes 14. You append that number, which is now 14, back into the list variable. So now you have 7 and 14, and so on and so forth. So all that's left is for us to return that list. So return lists. And hit enter, shift enter, and let's test it out. So list of M. Again, let's do that example. So 7 is our number, and the length of our list is 5. Okay, and we can double check here. So 7. We gotta add that 1. So remember that we gotta add that 1. So let's try that again. So 7, 14, 21, 28, and 35. Looks good. List of M. Let's try another number. Let's try that other example. 17 and 6. Just try one more. Why not? Let's do 12 and 10. So what's the length? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so 12, 24, 36. That all looks good. I really enjoyed this challenge. I hope you did too. Please leave your comments down below and share your strategy and your thought process. I would love to see how you tackle this challenge. All right, that's all we have for this week. See you guys next week as we tackle another challenge. Bye for now.